You all right, mate? Righto, welcome back to another episode. I'm Rob Taylor. Thank you for tuning in. I know it's been a long time coming, but finally I've got around to getting a review done on the Bonito 620 Express. The Bonito 620 is my all-new boat. I've had it for a few months now, and I know it's been a long time coming, but I do like to have a boat for a little while before I actually review it, because you want to make sure you've tried it out in all different sea conditions so I can actually know what I'm talking about when I review it for you. Righto, so let's get straight into it. This is the Bonito 620XT. Now it's exactly the same hull as my previous center console. It's a relatively new model from Bonito boats. I think the 620 hull has been out for a couple of years now. Comes in two configurations, the center console version and this one, the Express, which has a cast deck and a wave breaker, but essentially exactly the same hull. The two different types that come in is the XT and the normal version. So the normal version is rated to 225, the XT is rated up to 300. XT stands for extra tough, a little bit like me. Just means it can take the extra weight and horsepower on the back. Before we go any further, I will admit I did lie to you. Not that long ago, I put up a review, which I put here on the 620 center console that I own, and I did say as part of that review, it was the best boat I'd ever owned. I might have lied. This one is. So a lot of people have asked, why did I change boats when essentially it's exactly the same boat with exactly the same hull? And there are a couple of reasons for it. Being up here in Mackay, where I am, and I do a lot of fishing out on the Great Barrier Reef, as you would see from the channel, you're talking about 100 kilometres before you even get to the first line of reefs where I start fishing. So what's important to me in a boat is speed, obviously. You want to cut down that travel time. Economy, obviously. When you've got a 380 litre tank and you are doing these long runs, economy is first and foremost in your mind. Obviously it had to have the fishability that I need because it's essentially a fishing boat on a fishing channel. But also I wanted to get the wife more involved, and we had to have a boat that was a little bit more practical for the overnight camping that we like to do out on the reef and the islands. So while I confess I might have lied in that previous review that I did on the center console, I didn't know at the time the guys had this in mind. So that boat is actually a perfect fishing boat, the center console. It ticked all the boxes. The only difference is this one ticks a few more. And those boxes are speed, range, economy, fishability, storage, and overnight camping ability. And this boat, as I said, in my view, ticks all of those. And I was fortunate insofar as this is actually previously Adam's personal boat, Adam from Bonito Boats, the guy who builds them. So it's fully tricked out, and we'll check all that out when we jump up on top and have a look. So I guess what I'm saying there is I would not have contemplated changing boats unless the boys had bought this one out, and it was love at first sight for me. And in fact, I would not contemplate changing boat brands. I've been with Bonito now for 3 boats. I've had the 560, which I used to fish out of quite a lot down at Coffs Harbour, and I had that little boat everywhere from creeks and rivers chasing flathead out to the continental shelf chasing blue marlin. I've also had the 620 center console, and I've been in the 660 center console and also the 760 center console, and this one. I've also been in a 500. So of all the models they currently make, I think I've been in just about all of them, and they are an outstanding boat, I think, and particularly since Adam and Greg have taken over, the brand has undergone a complete transformation in terms of quality and range of models that they now bring out, and I think it's going to become, or if not already is, one of the go-to boat brands in Australia, particularly given the pricing that the guys have on offer in what is an Australian-made boat. All right, so before we get right into the review proper, let's have a quick chat about the basic statistics. So you've got a 6.2 metre hull, 2.4 metre beam, 22.5 degree dead rise at the transom, and it sits on an Aussie Alloy 3-tonne dual axle electric brake trailer. As with all the Bonitos I've either owned or been in, all of them are easy to launch single-handed. You don't need 2 blokes to get this thing in the water. I drive on, drive off, and I do it all the time, no problems, on my own, even after a couple of beers. Down the back, and this is the difference that I was explaining earlier between the XT version of the Bonito hulls and the standard version. So the XT, extra tough, more glass, stronger builds, can take the weight of a 300, and that gives the speed. Righto, so now we've got the stats out of the way, let's have a look at the boat from the external point of view. And this boat is fitted with a Sav winch, electric anchor winch. Quick look at that. So all the Bonito boats feature a massive anchor well. This one's big enough to put in an electric winch. No anchor on at the moment because the last trip out we woke up at 2 AM and that had rubbed off on a coral bombing. So I'm in need of a new anchor, but that is the bowsprit. You can get also a Bonito standard one, which is a beautiful bowsprit as well, but that one's the slightly heavier duty Sav winch model. we look at the Bonito from dead on, and you see quite a lot of flare in the bow of the hull here. Now, it's nowhere near a Carolina flare, but it is quite pronounced, and it does produce great spray deflection, and that equates to a dry ride when you're out in the rougher, windier stuff. Okay, so moving down the hull now, obviously, like I said before, this is the Express, so you've got the extended cast platform up front here. You've got the wave breaker. Now, the wave breaker comes in a solid wave breaker, or you can get a see-through Perspex one, I think it is, if you prefer that type of design. It's got a folding bimini. Now, when that bimini folds down, the overall height of the boat from the ground is about 2.25 metres. I can get it in under a 2.3 metre carport without any drums at all, so that's great having that fold down capability with the bimini. And then as we move down the boat, you've got what I consider to be a uniquely Bonito transom. And when I get up top and show you that in detail, you'll see what I mean. So we've got, as with all Bonitos, really large transom steps, which are great. It comes with a foldable ladder. So getting on or off the boat when you're anchored up in a lagoon or at an island is easy for family members and stuff like that if you want to just have a family day out. I would have mentioned these briefly. They're relaxing straps. They're attached to the trailer. They make hooking and unhooking your boat so simple. And I know a few people have mentioned that, you know, they won't stand the test of time. A little bit of corrosion will make the retraction mechanism in it seize up. But look, wash them thoroughly, lubricate them thoroughly, and look, I've had them almost a fair few months now and haven't had any problems with them whatsoever. They're absolutely fantastic. Lenco trim tabs, and they're custom built and painted in the same colour as the hull, which looks fantastic. To be honest with you, the 620 hull, I think, I might be biased, but I think it's one of the best in the Bonito lineup, and I don't have to use the trim tabs too much to get this boat to ride as I want. She's stable, at rest, and also underway, and I don't need to drive it too technically with trim tabs and trim and tilt to get the performance in the ride that I'm looking for. Righto, let's talk about the black beauty behind me. Now, I'm one of those blokes, those old school blokes that used to talk about Mercuries as black death or black anchors. I had no confidence in them whatsoever, but this thing has absolutely been outstanding. I never thought I'd see the day where I owned a Mercury, but love it, great motor, the torque, performance, economy, and reliability out of this Merc has been absolutely second to none. So 300 horsepower, it's the standard V8 model that they've got, and we'll talk performance stats in a little while, but it really does suit this boat to a T, and I get fantastic performance out of this motor. Down the bottom here, we've got some squid lights, which have not actually at this point helped me catch squid. I'm pretty useless at catching squid, but I will keep trying. And here we have a washdown port, a washdown hose there. We've got 2 fuel breathers and the fuel cap. Another thing I do love about the Bonitos, it's got this extended motor well, so you can actually stand in here, but it's also a great area to put your fish temporarily if you're in the middle of a hot bite. It's got a non-skid surface, so you can actually stand there if you need to, but it really is a big, useful area, and I particularly use it for storing fish while I'm out and the action's hot. Righto, so I'm just gonna get down and dirty here for a sec because I'm gonna show you this. So that's my through hole 1 kilowatt transducer, and also bait take intake. And you do need to be mindful, obviously you're in a glass boat, but when you are sort of putting her up on the sand at islands and what have you, that you do have this transducer face exposed, so you be very careful when you do beach it, you right, dog? As I mentioned in the review on the center console version of this hull, while it's new and modified and it's Bonito's interpretation on a classic, it does carry the hallmarks of the Haynes V19R, which is why, which I'll discuss later, the ride on this thing is what I call, in a word, superlative. Righto, so that's the outside of this bad boy done and dusted. Let's hop on inside and I'll show you what she's like. Okay, so one of the main features that I talked about being a requirement for this boat was fishability. One thing I never wanted to forego, and I've always owned center consoles for this very purpose, is I wanted to have that cast deck. I wanted to have that function to be able to stand up on the front of the boat, cast top water at GTs and reef edges and all the stuff you see I do on my channels. And that is one of the beauties of this boat, is that it's something of a hybrid, I would call it, and it allows both overnight camping in a cabin and also a cast deck where you can fish top water. Let's hop up and have a look. All right, so this is the cast deck, and you've seen this in my episodes. I use it all the time. I'm always up here throwing top water, and what I love about it is it's such a huge area, you know. You can actually cast 2 blokes up here all day long, no worries at all. One of the considerations with this cast deck compared to the center console is there is no kind of safety rail or what have you, and I have fished on this down south off Coffs Harbour with a bit more swell, so you gotta be quick on your feet, but up here in the reef where you have pretty much calm water scenarios when you're casting, absolutely not an issue. But the size is perfect, absolutely perfect. And I should mention this quickly while I'm up here. All Bonito models can come with this, which is a factory electric motor mount. Solid as, I don't use electric, but if you wanted to put one on, I know a lot of blokes do with their new Bonitos, you got that capacity to do that. You got a huge area inside that anchor well, and also piping through the hull, so you can put your batteries and what have you up close or in this console or way back down the transom if you like. However you want to set your boat up with your electric, you can do it with a Bonito. Okay, so this is the wave breaker, and it is a rock solid design that Adam's put together for this boat. I reckon this could take an RPG and no worries at all. It really is a rock solid wave breaker. I think the height for me is perfect. I didn't have any issues with this being solid. Some guys prefer clear, see-through ones, some prefer solid. I quite like the look of the solid, and I certainly don't lose any visibility when I'm in the seats or standing. Yeah, kind of line of sight, clear as the top of the wave breaker, no problems at all. So there's no issues there, I think, with visibility. Really comes down to personal taste. So another question I get quite a lot, and if there was any cons with this boat, this could be one of them. How do I get up and down from this cast platform? Well, I think it's quite simple, but it's just a matter of really stepping over through. You got the dashboard there, stepping through, and away we go. If you had mobility issues, accessing the caster could be a problem, but I haven't found any concerns with getting up there when I need to. So as I mentioned before, this is a folding bimini. It's actually a two-part folding bimini, which I'll explain and give you a look. So the two-part function allows me just to do this. So then I don't have to fold it completely down. So if I want to get up the front and cast my lures, I can do that. Keeps the bimini in place, but gives you that sort of extra freedom if you're swinging stick baits around everywhere. Being ginger, I don't use that feature very often. I keep it fully over all the time. I found that even when fully open, I don't have any issues with stick baits collecting the bimini, so I leave it in place the whole time I'm out there. But if you want to, you can certainly fold it down, and also it'll fold down further again and lie on the boat when you're parking the boat away and putting it in storage. And so this is the internal side of the wave breaker. You've got a grab bar here, which is strong as. What I love about the wave breaker design in the Express is you've got this massive dashboard area here, and I find that when you're out fishing, you know, as every fisherman will know, you get shit everywhere, and it's great to put it there, and at the end of the day when you're anchored up, you can sort it all out, so you get camera gear, lures, hooks, what have you, and it's just a fantastic storage area. It's all secure and built a lip in there, so nothing falls off whilst you are underway or fishing like a man possessed. So down at the console area, I run two 12-inch Simrad screens, one's charting, one's sounder. I run a C-Maps on my Simrad. We've got the Merc electric control screen here, Lenco trim tab function. We've got the sub winch button and also the Bonito button deck there. I run a Simrad radio, and also I've got audio system in this, and this is a game changer. When I got this boat off Adam, he was singing the praises of this thing. It's great. It's a mobile phone cradle / charger, which is absolutely epic because it will keep your phone fully charged when you're out and you need to take fish photos. And it's also secure and doesn't fall off, as I've done so with many mobile phones. And here we have the Mercury control unit, and I think it's very ergonomic and intuitive the way Adam's laid all this out. It's very easy to drive this boat from either a seated position, or if you want to, you can stand. I do both. But either way, it's a very, very easy boat to drive, and you know, with the way the console is set up, your electronics are at hand and easy to keep an eye on when you're underway. So probably the first thing you'll notice about this boat, and one of the most striking features I think visually, is that it has full EVA flooring all around. So you've got on the cast deck, dashboard, floor obviously, top of the gunnels and transom. And this is the first boat where I've had actually any EVA flooring in it whatsoever, and it's game changer. I love it. It's so comfortable underfoot. You don't have the heating issues that you get when you're fishing all day in the Queensland sun. Easy to clean and just so much more comfortable to fish out of. Righto, so before we move out of the driving area, I have to chat about these. These are relaxing seats. I think they're sort of premium model seats, and these are absolutely beautiful seats and fantastic to drive out of. And more importantly for the wife, when she comes out in this boat, she's so much more comfortable. than she was in the centre console. It's kind of like driving a car, so she's absolutely stoked with it. But you know, it's got kind of these ergonomic sides on it, so even at 40 knots, she's fallen asleep in this boat, and yeah, it's really, really comfortable to drive, and sort of no risk of you falling out of your chair because it really sort of hugs you in. And the other feature of this, which I love, you can sort of spin the seats on any angle you like and turn around. So when we're at anchor, we just spin the seats around and watch the sunset out the back, having a few beers. Great idea, great design, and these seats have been fantastic. Okay, so as with all Bonitos, you've got these full-length side pockets. They're all fiberglassed in, so you can pretty much stand on those and you won't break them. Strong as, they're on both sides of the boat. And this one's got 4-speaker surround sound. If you feel the urge to disco out there, you've got that. Wash it down on the floor, we've got a kill tank. I would only use that for sort of spare anchors and diving gear and what have you. It just keeps it out of the way, but it's another fantastic storage space. So when you're down here, we've got the bilge area. You can also put quite a lot of things down in here. Storage-wise, if you need, we've got the bait tank pump down there, and then you've got a massive sunken bilge area where you can put in your bilge pumps and through-hole transducers, and there's plenty of room there to put in any kind of sort of additions that you might need. And as I mentioned, this is Adam's boat previously, so it's fully tricked out. It's got 4 beer holders, which I think are also essential around the gunnels. It's also got 4 rod holders. It's got these multi-directional rod holders, which are great. Recessed cleats, 4 recessed cleats, as all Bonitos do. So this then brings us to probably one of my favourite features on this boat, and the centre console version as well, and all of the Bonitos in fact, is the transom area. It is one of the most functional and practical transom designs I've ever fished out of, and there's a number of reasons for that. One is just the sheer space. So on both sides you've got a huge area which we use for cooking, food preparation, sitting there having a drink. I can fish off it if I want to. You know, it actually gives you another 2 top water casting areas for the boat, which is absolutely great. If there's a couple of you on board, one guy at the front, one guy down the back casting, you're not in each other's way. So with the width of this transom, that creates a couple of things. One, you've got twin batteries. You've got one on this side and one over that side. So you've got a house and a starter battery, but also you've got this massive storage area here. So I find I can put all my tackle in there and then cooking gear on that side. And everything's up, out of the way. You're not going to trip over it, and it's securely stored. So same again on this side. A huge storage area, get your other battery, and like I said, I can put all our camping gear in there and cooking gear, and it's out of the way. So another feature of the Bonitos is live bait tanks built into the transom. These are fantastic. Adam's now bringing them out with the glass so you can see the condemned before their date with destiny. But huge tanks, and I don't do a lot of live baiting up here in Queensland, but when I'm taking this boat down to Coffs, where I do a lot of live baiting, you can keep 20, 30 slimy mackerel alive in that thing all day, no worries at all. It does have rounded corners so that your baits aren't going to get stuck in there and drown themselves. And then Bonito has a couple of bait board designs. This one I think is probably the best I've had out of all the boats. It's fantastic because one, you've got built-in rod holders, you've got a sort of area here where you can quickly leave hooks and what have you. You've got your chopping board obviously, and then another storage space there which is self-draining. It is a fantastic bait board and I've got absolutely no complaints about that. They do come with bait boards that lift out of the boat if you want to. This one's screwed in and I have no issues with it. I sort of leave it in the whole time, but if you're a game fisherman, you may want to have a removable bait board, which Bonito can accommodate. And then that's your huge motor well area, non-skid surface, like I mentioned before, and it's a great area in the middle of hot bite. You can throw your fish in there and bleed them out before you put them in an esky. So speaking of eskies, this boat actually comes with 2 custom-built eskies. They slide up under the seats here. They've got the straps to secure them. They're a fantastic addition to this boat. Sometimes I take one, sometimes I take both. Sometimes I use one as an esky and the other one as like tackle storage. Like I said, the ability to take 1 or 2 or take none at all, depending on what your needs are, is fantastic, and they're custom built. It's another example of working with Adam at Bonito Boats to have modifications the way you want your boat to be. Righto, the moment you've all been waiting for, come into my boudoir. So as I mentioned, one of the big features of this boat, and something I really, really wanted, in addition to retaining the functionality of having a cast platform, is somewhere to sleep. You'll see on some of my earlier episodes in the centre console, I camped out in the Great Barrier Reef and I used the swag up front, and that's all well and good. But yeah, you have set up time and then you have a swag on your deck whilst you're fishing all day. So having the functionality of a cabin is absolutely fantastic. Now, don't get me wrong, this is not a cabin that you can have a party in, but it is a great space just to crawl into and have a sleep. And this is an eye and the dog sleep in here quite well, so you could technically fit 3 people if you're that way inclined. But certainly the 2 of us sleep in there, no worries at all. So let's go and have a look. Righto, so it doesn't get much sexier than this. This is the cabin, so 1.8 metre long bunk in here. You know, beautiful foam mattress that Adam had installed. So it's perfect for, like I said, just an overnighter or a couple of nights you can sleep in here, no worries at all. We've got a little fan that we use which keeps it cool, but you can buy those portable air conditioning units, which would be fantastic in the middle of summer, which we'll probably look at getting because it can get quite hot in here. But just whilst I'm here, I'll just show you this. This is the wiring work done by MK Marine. I'll put a link in the description below. I mean, look at that. That is superlative wiring work. Should be on the wall at the bloody Louvre next to the Mona Lisa. I mean, check that shit out. It's intuitive. It's easy to problem shoot. Everything's fuses. Everything's up and dry. And even for a moron like me, I can probably work out, you know, where a problem is if one arises. We've got a front shelf, and that's that internal tubing that I was talking about. That allows you to wire up anything in a Bonito. We've got a secondary shelf over here, and a small light as well, which also has a blue light feature, so it's not too bright. Again, like I said, you probably wouldn't have a 20-person party in there, but if it's just a couple of nights for a couple of people, that space is more than functional. And that's it. Thank you for watching. That's my take on the all-new Bonito 620 Express. If you've got any comments or questions about this or any other boats in the Bonito lineup, please leave a comment in the comment section below, and I'll come back to you if you want to know more about the boats in detail. I'll also leave Adam's details in the description box, so give him a bell, have a chat to him about your requirements, and once again, thank you for watching Bonito Boats. So the 2-part function allows me to just do that if I want to. So the 2-part function allows me just to do this. So now to the operations center, my electronics. I run 2 twin screen 12. So I run 2 12-inch Simrad EVO. Let me try it again, Joe. I'm not happy. Right. So let's get straight into it. This is the, This is the 620, fucking hell. And I'll explain a little while why I made that change and the benefits for me. And I'll explain a little while why I changed the, Ready, please hit the subscribe and like button, and wanker with a fucking drone.